Okay, guys, so we're going to look at texturing some walls today, and some bricks and maybe some drain pipe as well. So I've put this model for you together already. All these assets will be found in the wall assets folder on Moodle, so you just need to download them onto your computer. We're going to focus more on the texturing side, but this is what it looks like in FreeStudio Max. Um, so as I said, the focus today is really to sort of look at what we can, how we can texture this, and some tricks that we can also use. So go ahead and open up the wall UVW image PNG file, and then go and place embedded the actual main wall texture. Pull that in. I like to turn auto select off and have show transform controls. And I'm looking to sort of resize this initially just so it fits the space of the top panel. This is the side of the wall. So sort of get to grips with where you want to put that. Obviously feel free to pause the video, just so you can have time to adjust it where it needs to be. Rasterize the layer, hide it, and then if you select the magic wand tool and select these areas, hold down shift to select more than one. A good technique to use when playing with UV maps is making sure that you overlap it slightly. So I'm going to expand the selection by 4 pixels. Click OK. And once you've done that, you can then turn back on the other layer. And the simplest way to do this really is just use the mask tool. So we're going to mask it, and this specifies the areas of where we want the bricks to appear. I can right click on the mask and I'll apply the mask as well. There's a couple of ways of doing that, but that's just the way that I prefer to do it. You can duplicate it at this stage if you want to, but you don't have to. I've done it here, but you don't have to do that, as you'll see in a bit. So go ahead and we'll now bring in the damaged wall texture that's also part of the assets I've given you. Move it to roughly where you want it. I like to have it where the bricks are going in the same direction as the ones behind it, so if I grab the corner I can slightly tilt it a little bit. And I'm just gonna resize this a little bit, and maybe just need to pivot it a little bit more. So just adjust it to where you want it to be. Rasterize the layer and add a mask. And paint, when painting on the mask, remember black means to take it away or make it invisible, and white means to add. So I'm going to go to change it to a black brush. I'm also going to change the actual brush down to a soft brush. And as you can see, I've just sped up this section here, but all I'm essentially doing is I'm just trying to kind of bring it down a little bit and make it look more realistic, so that this does look like it's part of the actual wall. So I'm sort of just going around and tidying up the edges a little bit. It's okay to kind of have like a loose brick in the middle, so it doesn't look as uniform, doesn't look as static. So yeah, just take one away from the middle there, so it looks like it's part of it a bit more. Obviously spend as much time as you want on this part, just to try and make sure you get the right effect. And then once you're done, let's go back to our original brick wall texture. And you could use the delete, so the eraser for this, but I prefer to do it as a mask, again, because it's non-destructive. So if I kind of take too much away, I can always bring it back a little bit. So making sure I'm using the brush tool, and I've got it set to black. I'm just going to start taking away some of this brickwork. So the kind of the point of this is to show that obviously on the left you've got the window, and that's been modelled where there's a hole in it. But I also want to show that there is a way that you can still create holes in a model where there is still technically a polygon face there, so there's still a structure, but because of the power of things like Unreal, you can set it so that it it basically shows this part as being um, as nothing being there, as being transparent. Um, and obviously we'll have a look at how this looks in the game engine in a bit once we've finished here. But yeah, again, just really an opportunity to show that you can do things like this, um, which can be very useful when you don't want to spend time modeling every tiny aspect, every tiny vertex point, every edge to try and create that detail, when you can get away with a couple of things using a similar process to this. And so once you've done that, I'm actually going to take away the other brick texture for the time being. I didn't really need it at that stage. I'm going to show my damage wall, but I'm going to turn the opacity down a little bit just so I can see where that hole starts to come through. And this is where I can start to kind of be a little bit more, inject a little bit of creative license as well, because I don't need to take away the exact same shape as below it. I can have like things overlapping each other, as you can see. So I'm not going to try and be really tidy with this. Just again, because you don't need to be, which can actually kind of add to the effect a little bit. As you can see, I'm just overlapping there a little bit. And if I bring it in, that's the effect. And obviously try and make sure there aren't any loose bits floating, because that will just ruin the illusion that we're trying to create here. So once you're happy with those two aspects, select both layers and press Ctrl J to duplicate them. Good idea to show the UV map again, just so we can see where they're supposed to be placed. Roughly place it, and then making sure that both the layers are still selected, go up to Edit, Transform, and then Flip Horizontal. And you'll need to move it back again into the right position. And you can use the window to kind of line that up for you as well, just to make sure you're in the right place, which is useful. And of course, the reason why we've duplicated both layers and not merged them is because now we can actually change the look of the damaged wall. Because ideally we don't want this to look exactly the same as the other side. So we can mix it up a little bit. So make sure you're in the mask for this layer, and then just start to bring some of it back, change its appearance. And again, feel free to take your time with this, just to kind of really refine it and get the look that you want. But also at the same time, don't feel the need to be really neat with this, because sometimes leaving it looking a little bit more messy can actually add to the effect. I'm just going to change the look of the hole from this side as well a little bit. Okay, I'm fairly happy with that. I will, if you want to though, you can make some extra changes. So we can clip the layer above it to it by holding down Alt in between the layers once we've added a new layer. And then if I change the blend mode of this to overlay, and choose like an orange color, like a light orange, you can see that I can just go over and just change the color here a little bit, just again to kind of make this look a little bit different from this side. Maybe darken some areas up as well. Obviously, the point of using the clipping mask is that it means that wherever I paint on this layer, it will only appear where there is a texture on the layer that it's clipped to, which is quite a useful tool, quite a useful technique within Photoshop. So I'm just applying the masks there because what I would like to do is, oh no, I don't want to merge all. I want to merge these layers together. I'm just going to apply the mask for these ones as well. Right, so, and then, yeah, I think I need to select the clipping mask as well. Yeah, and just merge layer. So that's all in one thing now. And then I will just need to deselect that selection as well. Just Control D to deselect. And then we've used the patch tool before, and this is just selecting an area and then clicking and dragging to a different area to use some of the texture, some of the detail that's used in those other areas for it, and Photoshop then blends the pixels between those points together, which is quite useful. Obviously you need to make sure that it's consistent though, otherwise things like that won't work. So you can't grab the brickwork from outside, it just won't work in the right way. So it has to be, there has to be a similarity between the areas that you're using the patch tool with for it to work effectively. So hopefully again that just adds a little bit more variety, makes it look a little bit different. Okay, so let's pull up the map again. I'll merge these two layers as well. And then what I want to do now is I want to pull in the second damaged wall texture that I've got, that you'll also find in wall assets. So go to place embedded again and drag that in. This one is going to be the inside, that's that part there is the inside of the window frame. So I just want it to look like, no sorry, apologies, this is actually the outside wall. Yeah, this is the outside wall. So the sides of the wall, top, bottom. So I mean we'll never see the bottom of it, but we'll see the top of it and the left and the right of it, but not in great detail. And then I've done the same thing again. I've just brought the same, gone to place embedded and brought another one in below it. With this one, I'm going to make a couple more changes. So I'm going to use that same technique that I did before, where I select the grey parts of the UV template with the magic wand tool, and then expand the selection like I did before, and then go to this, rasterize that layer as well, and then hit the mask. Awesome. So it's the same texture, and I'm going to apply the mask, but I'm going to add a couple of things to this one as well. So I'll create a new layer, and I'll clip this as well by holding down Alt and clicking in between, and change the blend mode again to overlay. And I want really something that looks a little bit more like the brick. So yeah, that might still be a bit too bright. I could just use the eyedrop tool and take it from the brickwork and see, yeah, it's a little bit darker, a little bit more red. And then if I select the layer again and go to adjustments and click levels, that will also automatically clip it. I'll just make it a little bit darker on the levels. Yeah, and that should be fine. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to merge all the layers together and create it as a new layer. Oh wait, no, I need to hide that bottom one first so I can see the transparency behind those holes in the wall. So yeah, select the top layer and then press Control Alt Shift and E. That's Control Alt Shift and E, and that merges everything that's visible but adds it as a new layer. And then what I've done there is I've just clicked Control and clicked the preview of the layer, gone over to my channels, and added a new layer here, which is automatically added an alpha. And now I'm just painting that all white. basically it kind of works similar to masks in the sense that later on this will be useful. So everything that's white will be visible, and everything that's black will be invisible. Um, and we'll use that with an opacity mask later. So once you're happy with that, go ahead and save it as a PNG file. We'll also create a normal map, so go to Filter 3D, create normal map, and it will generate it for you. Feel free to adjust the levels on the side, and you'll see the impact of that actually on the canvas. And once you're happy, go ahead and click OK. And save this also as a PNG file, and give it an appropriate name like wall_normal. And now we can head over to Unreal. So in Unreal, I have opened up a first person template, which you guys have done beforehand. So let me just pull it open. So I'm in the main map. I'll go to File and New and click on Defaults. And if I select this floor, I'm just going to go into the Details pane and change the scale of the X to 2 and the scale of the Y to 2 as well, so it's a bit bigger. Okay. As you can see, so I can still shoot tennis balls. So I'm going to go to the Content folder, and then I'm going to right click and click New Folder, call it Wall. Go inside here, and then I'm going to want to import my wall model. You can untick the texture and the material, and if you click Save All, it will also prompt you to save the map, the level that you're working on, so just call it something like Wall Map as well. This is just because we created a new level, so it wants you to save it. And then you might get a warning up as well saying that these things are really small. You can just ignore that. Hold down Control and select all of them so that you pull them all at the same time. This means that they all come in where they should do. Shortcut keys are the same as for 3D Studio Max, so you want to press R to go to Scale, and then you can select the middle part of Scale to uniformly pull this up. And there you go. There is the model. So I'm going to do the same thing where I import the textures. So find your textures, so just click Import and then find your textures and bring them in. And then if you right click on the wall texture and click Create Material, hit Return to confirm, and then double click the material to open this up. If you grab the tab when it opens, you can just dock it at the top of your screen. So select the material node and change the blend mode to masked, which gives you the opacity mask option. And I'll plug this in, and you should see that, yeah, now it removes all the areas that we didn't colour in white in the alpha map in Photoshop. If I change it to flat view as well, you can see what that looks like. We also tick two-sided, just means that the other side will also be textured, which is cool. And we also want to pull a normal map in, so go back to your main screen, pull it up to the tab, drop it in, and connect it to where it says normal. This will now give it some extra detail and texture. Click Save to confirm, and if we go back, and if we select the wall in the view, like so, you can see that there's a material slot, and we can just drag it onto there, and it's updated it. It's difficult to see at the moment because the light from the sun is pointing in the wrong direction, so we could just go to lights and pull across a point light, which would be fine. But another way of doing this would also be just to rotate the direction that the sunlight is. So click on the sun icon, and then if you go to rotate mode, which is again the same shortcuts for Studio Max, so that's E, and then just rotate it around until you can see the sun impacting on the side of the wall. And there you go. That is the wall. I also added some brick textures, which I already did, and they are also in that assets folder. So import those textures. Just do the same process. So right click on the colored version, and then go create wall. Hit enter to confirm. Double click to open it. Select the material node. Change it to masked. Plug it into opacity mask. Go back to the main screen. And drag the normal map in. Connect it to normal. Gives it a little bit more detail. Save it. And then once it's saved, just close these tabs down, we don't need them. And then if you select the brick, this is the singular one, so we can just drag that into the material slot like before. And then this one over here is a bunch of them, but you can just drag again to the material slot and it will populate all of them there for you. The drain pipe, because you would have opened the template, you would have come in with starter content, you can just search for some of the materials that are already in it. So if you search for copper, it's not quite what we want, but it'll do for the time being. And feel free to add some particle effects as well. Some fire there, some steam coming out the end of the pipe. And if you press G on your keyboard as well, it hides the icons, so you can just get a better idea of how that looks. To build, you get the red area in the corner saying lighting needs to be built. The shortcut to build lighting is Control Shift and colon, or you can just, or at the top where it says build, you can hit the drop down next to it and you can see where it says build lighting only, but it also says Control Shift semicolon on there as well. And that just sorts the lighting out. A bit dark back there, but lighter there, and then there you go. Automatically, when models come in, they have default collision set to them, so if you want to change it so you can shoot through the window, go and find the model of your wall, double click it, and dock that tab at the top again. And if you scroll down on the details until you get to this section called collision, change where it says project default to use complex collision as simple. Save that, and then you can just close it down, and now in theory you should be able to shoot through that window. And even though this section here is not, it's still essentially a solid wall, you can, because we've got a transparency, get in the right position, shoot for this as well, which is awesome. Again, just shows the power of the Unreal Engine. It really is quite dark back here, so I'm going to add a point light. Just drag that in. Obviously, because I've added another light, you'll see that error come up in the top left corner again, saying that lighting needs to be rebuilt. As an extension activity for this, you could I've also given you the UV map for the drain pipe, so you could have a look at playing around with that in Photoshop. You could also experiment with putting maybe some graffiti on this wall in Photoshop, or maybe some cracks using the pencil tool. Have a go. Thanks for watching.